Present. Present. I so move that we adopt the agenda.
Second. Aye.
Aye.
Motioned.
Second.
Aye.
Aye.
Got it. Can everybody hear me now? Should we go back and do that? Or are we good? We good? Okay. Now it's time for public announcements and communications.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you for being here tonight. I would like to remind everyone that masks must be worn in City Hall and the City Commission chambers, regardless of vaccination status. Masks may be removed when addressing the City Commission or this board, but should otherwise be worn to cover the mouth and nose. The personal protection equipment located next to the podium is available for use by those commenting in person. In addition, attendees should take note of the reserved seat signs that are in place to create social distancing. Your cooperation and compliance with these rules is appreciated. Public comment periods will be accepted as times as indicated on today's meeting agenda, which is Item 7, Citizen Comments. Community members that wish to provide public comments over the phone can call 888-382-9556. That is 888-382-9556 during the citizen comment period. They will enter into a queue and will be prompted to offer their comments in turn. Callers will be commenting to the board or commission live and will no longer be able to leave a recorded message. Thank you. Other thing I want to remind or let you all know is that we are in the process of engagement for our diversity, equity, and inclusion assessment. Last fall, some of you participated in a survey or listening sessions where the report is out. You should have seen it. If not, I can send you another copy or a link. But now the group is our consultants are coming back to get feedback on the recommendations. So on February 24th at 6 p.m., there is a virtual meeting. You will receive via email next week the link so you can register for that meeting. I am really encouraging all of you to participate. This is very important because this is what we do. And our work is starting internal, so we'll know how to be better external, community facing. So keep that in mind, and that is the end of our communications for staff.
Okay, thank you. Any other announcements or communications, board? No? Okay. Yes.
Director Harry, can you first move on? If we could, Director Bonner, you would just update us on the status of the board.
Thank you. So we when we started our city attorney, when we started getting complaints, our city attorney was really understaffed. People had left. We now have a full staff of attorneys, and we are also using our city auditor. Auditor, is that her? I think that's her title, yes, to support so investigations are occurring. We're in the process. It is like we thought it would be a consuming thing for those folks, and this is just part of their job, but they are happening. And hopefully in February or March, we will have a report out. I'm not sure what we would do. We may not be doing the part of our investigation yet, but we'll be able to tell you how many, what kind of things we're seeing. And I did think of one other thing. The Michigan Department of Civil Rights is going to do a training for landlords. So I will send that to you all as well, so you could tell your partners. I know, Jacob, you work at HRI, if you could send it to your landlords. We just got that today. Okay. Thank you, Director Glenn, for asking.
Thank you. All right, moving on to new business. Item number 1 is the 2022 board meeting schedule. So as it stands right now, we will be hopefully moving forward with additions to the board of directors. And there probably will be some time needed for training and acclimation and things like that. And then I'm hoping that we can have some business that we're moving forward with, where we talked about last year, moving out into the community with education and hopefully advocacy for the board and what we do, and letting the community know about what we do in a very personal and one-on-one way. So I'm wondering, in terms of frequency of meetings, if we do have new board members at the February meeting, and it would be necessary for trainings as such, do we feel comfortable maintaining a once-a-month meeting, or do we feel like we should be meeting infrequently? Just want to get some feedback on that.
So we've had a number of months where we have not met due to no business. So I would recommend that moving forward until while we get new board members acclimated, trained, and implement some of the training, the community outreach we're doing, we shift to a bi-monthly meeting. And I think we do need to meet in February to approve new board members, but then then going from there. So February, then off March.
Any other comments or discussion about that?
This is Director Glenn.
Director Bonner.
So regardless of what your schedule is, you always have the right to hold a special meeting. And so, and then just recognizing that there are a lot of committees, and it still may delay when you have a special meeting, because I think we have 22 committees or something. So you can set a schedule like bi-monthly, quarterly, or something, and then as the need arises, you can hold a special meeting.
Thank you, Director Bonner. And that's actually what I was going to lift up too, is that I think as the Civil Rights Board grows and as we're training the new members as well, that our business might increase. Just not sure when that will happen. And so I don't want us to have a monthly meeting on the books that we're gonna have to, like we did at the end of last year, we were just canceling because we didn't have business. So if we wanted to move to bi-monthly, and as Director Bonner has stated, when necessary, like we did today, call a special meeting, right? So that was a great suggestion, Director Beach, and yeah, can I have a motion on the floor to adopt the 2022 board meeting schedule as bi-monthly?
I so move that we hold our meetings bi-monthly, starting though in February as the first meeting.
And a second for that motion, please?
I'll second.
Any discussion? Or further discussion?
So I just want to raise that it is February 15th.
Yes.
We continue on, so based on where we're at with interviews of new members, my concern is that 2 weeks' time is going to be insufficient to get everyone on board. So I only want to caution us to perhaps even start in March, giving ample time for nomination of the new board members, perhaps even onboarding, and then starting in March, go by Wednesday.
Do we agree?
I would agree with that.
Okay.
So I just want to remind you, though, that they cannot start until they're approved by the commission. So you can't onboard, shake your head if I'm right, Claudia. You can't onboard and do a lot of stuff until the commission approves them. And so if they're selected in January, I could try to get them on at least the latter meeting in February.
Wait, so yeah, do we, this is Director Beach, do we have to meet before they go to the commission to send them to the commission? Do we have to nominate them as a board in a meeting to send, before they can go in front of the commission?
So what you do is the committee selects, the committee nominates them sends their nominations to this committee, the committee approves, and then we take it to the commission.
The board approves.
Yeah.
So the committee sends it to the
Right.
board,
The
and
board-
the whole board approves.
And then,
And we can do that, do we have to do that publicly?
yes.
So we'd have to, I mean, we do have, we have candidates that we've already identified, communicated with. At this point, it's just all about scheduling, to be honest. And 2 weeks is tight, but I think we might be able to do it. Because right now, we're talking about April, or we're talking about not having bi-monthly meetings, which is why I wanted to have this discussion.
This is Director Beach. Is there any flexibility on the night or day we meet? Or does it have to be the first?
This was selected because it was the free
Okay,
night.
yeah, that's what I,
So it was the free night, and, I mean, we did find a night this week, what's this, Thursday? So, I mean, but you don't want to have that, for the community's sake, you want to be as consistent as possible for our staff. I mean, you have to call staff in, there's a lot of behind the scene things that go on. So you want to be as orderly and consistent as possible. So, I don't know, I mean, you all tell me if you think you can get it done, and I guess I'm part of that too. If we could get it done in 2 weeks.
We already have people, they've been communicated with, and are ready to be rescheduled. So it's just all a matter of lining up schedules of the candidates and of the whoever on the board, when we get to this in a second in the agenda, who will be conducting the interviews. And then just getting the recommendations, the committee has to get the recommendations back to the rest of the board in a timely manner.
So this is Director Brown. Quick question. How many candidates do we have?
off the top of my head, I believe there are 11 that, I believe 10 or 11 that we reached out to, and I think about 8 responded with responding to the interview. So we have 8 candidates. And that is off my memory. I would have to look. I don't.
So would we, how long do we expect the interviews to be? Because I'm just trying to think of because, if it could be done in 2 weeks, let's be realistic. If it can, then let's do it and let's get it done and then have that meeting in February to say, this is who we like. If it's too much and our schedule's on the line, then I just want us to be realistic. I do agree with you, Director Glenn. But that's why I'm just trying to ask, what are we really working with and how long do we expect the interviews to?
Sure. So we actually already have a schedule, I guess you could call it a template at this point, with each slot being 30 minutes. Okay. And on back-to-back days. So basically, we would take a chunk of over about 3 days, and just ram them in. And then that would give time then after the last interview for the committee to commiserate and then give their recommendations to the board. I guess I just want to clarify, Director Bonner, that once the committee selects the candidates that they would like for the board to approve, that's a meeting. Mm-hmm. So that's a meeting, that's either a board meeting or that's a special meeting we're calling. I just want to make sure that we all understand that. So that's sounds like it's still a February board meeting, right? The current motion on the floor is us starting our bi-monthly meetings in February. So leaving, accepting the motion on the floor as it is.
I think it's doable. And worst case scenario, we will have to call a special meeting in February to get them in the commission in March. And then that would put us back in April. Hopefully of going to the will that be enough time for them to go in front of the commission for March? So if we nominate them in February at the end, either at the beginning of at the February meeting, they'll be able to have time to go in March in front of the city commission.
Or at the end of February.
Because we're at the beginning of
Yeah.
February. So there's two
Commission.
meetings in the month, so I can get try to get
The end of
Yeah.
February.
Great.
And so to your point about training, though, and onboarding, would that be enough time, Director Bonner, to, I guess, end of February to beginning of March? I don't think that's enough time for onboarding. Are we okay with them being at the March meeting without being fully onboarded?
Well, the only thing is, we wouldn't have a March meeting.
Don't want it.
Our meeting would be in April, so we would actually
That's
have
right.
all of
Yep.
March.
Yes, that's right.
So,
Okay, well,
yeah, so
there
then
you go.
that's why I was just like, actually,
Yeah.
that should
Yeah.
work.
That works.
That
Okay,
works.
There you go.
That should
Bam.
work.
Let's make it
That's
happen.
if you feel those things. I'm
Yeah.
just trying to be
That's
thoughtful
what
of
the
everyone.
current motion on the floor is. So,
Okay.
we would start bi-monthly meetings in February, meaning the next one would be in April.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Let's make it happen.
all right, are we good with the current motion on the floor? Okay, so all of those in favor with the 2022 Civil Rights Board meeting schedule being bi-monthly, beginning in February, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? No abstentions. All right, that motion passed. Thank you. All right, moving on to the next item on the agenda under new business, board chair and vice chair discussion and nomination. So at the end of 2021, myself and Director Beach stepped in as interim chair and vice chair for the Civil Rights Board.
Just you.
Just me. Oh, that's right.
Just you.
Yes, that's right. Okay. I stepped in. I stepped in as interim chair, and just to get us through to the end of the year. But we are now starting a new year, and we need the vice chair and the chair of the board. So I would like to open the floor for discussion and/or nominations for chair and vice chair for 2022, please.
Now, this is Director Brown, so just to clarify, you were nominated as vice chair, so you've been acting as chair? Okay, I just want to clarify. So we need to then, for this year, nominate officially the chair and vice chair.
Correct.
Am I correct? Okay.
Yes.
Just wanted to make sure that's clarified and understood. I would like to make a nomination, personally. I would like to honestly nominate Director Harrington as chair. And I kind of, even though you kind of threw him out there, I kind of like Director Beach as vice chair. That's just my nomination. You know, she kind of spoke on it, but I'm very comfortable with that. If you are both comfortable with that, but that's my nomination. Other nominations can come, but that is mine.
Any other discussion, nominations?
So I guess my question is, going back to the fact that we are really, right? We only have half of the board or less currently staff, and I wonder, I know we need to nominate a chair and vice chair to move forward. But I also wonder if it's something we should do on an interim basis, preserving that nomination for the full chair and vice chair. We're going to look very different.
And I guess this is Director Brown. I feel you on that we will look different, but I guess for me, being part of this board, I feel a little more comfortable with the chair and vice chair being someone that has a little experience on this board. And so when I'm thinking about all of us here, I personally would like to see the chair or vice chair be one of us four. And as they come in and then move on to the next year, yes, so we can again revisit those things. But I just kind of, I think personally, I feel that there's commitment here amongst us. I feel that there has been great discussion, great thoughts, great work that's done by this board, although we are short-staffed. And I just kind of feel a little more comfortable not putting that responsibility on people who are just coming in and are still going to need a lot of understanding. You know, for us, it was kind of a struggle. We can be very honest coming in. It was a little bit of a struggle for us to really understand. I know I had my faux pas as well. So I just would feel more comfortable maybe this year not even doing an interim, just nominating this is what it is, have them come in under that mentorship and that guidance together. And then next year, you know, depending on what that looks like, then I think we can branch out a little bit. But that's just kind of my thoughts. I just don't want us to get into interim and, you know, it's a lot more nominating and voting than I think we really need to. That's just kind of my thoughts on that. But that's kind of why I was leaning towards, hey, these are the committed people. Let's stick with who's been committed, who's been involved, who has probably a better understanding and a background. Hello. So that's kind of where, you know, even more than me, I would never nominate myself for it, but definitely, definitely any one of you three, I would feel very comfortable with. That's just my thought.
This is Director Beach. I think I would agree with Director Brown in the fact I think we learned that the onboarding process for this board, there is a stark learning curve, especially depending on whoever our new board members. I don't want to assume that they are in a space ready to come on in a leadership role and expect that additional responsibility on someone who is also just potentially joining a first public board, learning. We've seen the struggles of learning Robert's Rule of Order and just all of that, especially since we don't know who those board members are. And I want to make sure we're not just filling our agenda with having to revisit these things over and over again. So I think I would agree with you, Director Brown.
So, I just wanted to call attention to the fact that we do have 1 year appointment, 2 year appointments, and 3 year appointments for this board, right? So we could have somebody who is only ever on this board for 1 year, but also that the full body representing the full body
And this Director Brown, and I fully agree with that. And that's where I'm just saying, definitely these are things are going to be revisited. So next year after, you might see that and we kind of all gravitate to another leader depending on, what the makeup of the board is. And they'll be able to vote and feel confident in that leadership. I'm just saying, sitting where we are right now, I'm very confident in the leadership that I brought forth. And I just feel that it will definitely move smoothly in the right direction personally. But I understand what you're saying fully. Definitely understand what you're saying.
Okay, any more discussion or nominations? I don't know how to move forward. There's no motion on the floor. Is there a motion on the floor? There was a nomination
There's
on
a
the floor.
nomination.
Okay. Oh, we have to accept the nominations. Yes, that is correct. I was going, where in the order are we? Okay, well, this is Director Harrington. I will humbly accept the nomination for chair.
This is Director Beach. I would be happy to serve with you.
And then we vote. Do I have to call for a motion? Can I please have a motion on the floor to officially nominate myself and Director Beach as chair and vice chair respectively?
Yes, this is Director Brown, and I so move that we nominate for 2022 Director Harrington and Director Beach as chair and vice chair respectively.
Can I please have a second? All of those in favor say aye.
Aye. Oh, roll.
Okay, can we call for individual votes?
I'll call it Director Beach.
Aye.
This is Director Brown.
Aye, Director Brown.
Director Harrington.
Aye.
Director Glenn.
Okay, motion passes. Thank you, guys. Looking forward
Look
to
forward
serving.
to the next year.
Yay. Okay, moving on to the next item on the agenda under new business, which is new nomination committee member selection. So per the minutes from the October meeting, we did decide as a board to have a nominating committee that would move forward with the selection and the selection of candidates and interviewing of candidates for the board. As Director Glenn just stated, we have a very different makeup now with the four of us, and so we do need to officially revisit that based on what we decided at the last meeting. So I would like to do that, but I also would like to note and have on record that moving forward, I think as a board, we have found that it will be way more efficient to have the nominating committee appointed by the board chair. And that way, we don't have to wait for meetings to just get the business of the board done and moving on. So I just want to have that on record as saying that moving forward. Should I take a vote for that?
And just a point of clarity, you would still have to be at a meeting to make the recommendation of the committee. You just don't have to have a committee get together. We can do it easier, but you still have to have that recommendation done in a public meeting.
So can I please have a motion on the floor to move forward from here on out with the nominating committee being appointed by the chair of the board and publicly voted on? Publicly acknowledged.
This Director Beach, I motion that. Or I motion the public that we know moving forward, the board chair will be selected by nomination of the chair and then publicly acknowledged.
I second that.
Okay, all those in favor, say aye.
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 Any opposed? Okay, motion passed. All right, so we just had a discussion about in the next 2 weeks here, needing to select and interview candidates for the board. And so because there are 4 of us, only 2 people can be a part of those interviews. Because if it was more than that, that would be a majority of the board, and then it would have to be public. Okay? So I just open the floor for discussion about who would like to do the interviewing, scheduling, and recommendation to the board here in the next 2 weeks.
This is Director Beach. I have already been in communication with the applicant, so I would be happy to lead the scheduling and communication with them, and I would be happy to be one of the ones in the interview.
I would be willing to assist Director Beach, because this is definitely in my wheelhouse, being an HR rep. So definitely be willing to assist Director Beach, if that's okay with the rest of the board.
Any other discussion? Okay.
This is Director Bonner. Just want to make sure my role in it still, or am I still a part of it? So I can just know.
Yes, you will still be
Yes,
included
please,
as interim.
thank you.
I tried. Okay.
Yes.
So my question was, given that we only have a few weeks, if we need, if we're to move forward, and we're scheduling for interviews, what should we all make ourselves available so that if for scheduling reasons, we need someone to step in? There's current rubrics, right? There's a criteria that everyone can employ, so the actual interviewer are a little less, we would all vote on them anyway, but to move this business along, in order to just talking conversations about that.
This is Director Brown. I agree with that, Director Glenn, and I think that's smart, being that we are, like you mentioned, we're short-staffed, we're smaller, and things happen in life. Somebody can get sick. We are dealing with a new variant. So, and just emergencies happen. So if we can somehow say, in case any 3 of us are not able to be there, that we can call on any of the other board members to step in. I think that would be nice to put that in the motion, however it goes forward. But I fully agree with that.
I think that's a great idea. I would also like to, I guess, for point of clarification, I think it needs to be clear who the 2 people will be to put the recommendations for. So for all 4 of us are interviewing, there has to be 2 people that are, I guess, compiling the notes together and making a recommendation. Am I understanding that correctly?
We would only, so long as there's only 2 pairs at a time, we are still in compliance.
I guess I'm more so speaking of, because what we have stated before is that there's a recommendation coming from the nominating committee, and it sounds like we're all the nominating committee. So how would that discussion move forward in terms of narrowing down, or are we just gonna just vote on everybody publicly together?
So there is a rubric, and there are standard interview questions in a rubric. So I think, to Director Glenn's point, the rubric allows for, if for whatever reason there is somebody not available, that there is still a way to assess different candidates, no matter the interviewer. So I think what I would recommend is maybe myself and Director Brown take the lead, and with the initial scheduling, if for whatever reason that doesn't work out, we reach out for a backup of a board member, and then I would be happy to be the one to compile and send out the resumes and make the formal recommendation to the board. And
Yep,
take that
thank
role.
you. Yep, that's what I was asking. There we go. Perfect.
Can I ask, A question so we can be prepared. What do you all want to see when we recommend? Do you trust them enough just to get the names and terms? Because that's what we present to the commission, the person's name and their terms. Or do you want more? Are you going to be having conversation? We just need to be prepared on what we're bringing to you that night.
So would we be able to receive the notes from the interviews? That's what Director Beach is saying he's compiling, and then we would all be prepared with that information to make a vote.
I think you mean the rubric, like that, yeah, that evaluation tool.
Yeah, and that's what we're all assessing prior to the meeting, as individuals, because we can't have discussion, right? So we're receiving all this information together as individuals, assessing for ourselves, and then voting on it. Yeah? Okay.
Yeah.
So would that have to be in the board packet? Or,
Ooh.
which is public?
The rubric.
I'm just saying
But that we would have to include if we were to do it that way, we would have to include every applicant, even the ones we were not selecting, in the board packet. Is that what you're?
whatever, if you're going to give the board some documents to discuss at the meeting, they have to be in the board packet. So either you could give them the list of recommendations and the terms, which is all that goes to the commission, or if you're going to have something, especially if you think you're going to have some deliberation of any sort, it has to go in the board packet.
That's a good question. How do we want to do this?
And-
Because
I think the purpose of so then if that was the case, I think it would be the purpose of the nominating committee to make those recommendations and put the names and the terms in that. That is what will come to this board. I would think makes sense.
So it would be Director Beach and Director Brown who would assess the rubrics and the notes. Just the two of you bring the recommendations with the terms before the rest of the board. We would vote on it. And then those people that we vote on would then be brought in front of the city commission. Okay. All right.
Okay.
You got to vote on that? We don't. Right. Okay. All right. Great discussion. Anything further there? All right. Moving on. Yes.
Just so you know, those of you who have agreed to a second term, when it goes toward the commission, you will be on that list as well. So you will be part of that nominating for that week, because anybody we send to the commission has to be voted on here. So those of you, like, yours is changing, so, but we'll talk about that when we gather before the interviews. Okay, so just so you know how that works.
Okay, thank you, everybody. If there is nothing further, we don't have any more new business and we don't have old business. So it is now time for citizen comments. Don't see anyone here in person.
Yep.
So online.
Caller, you have 3 minutes.
Hello, my name is Richard Stewart, and I am a citizen of the city of Kalamazoo, resident of the Southtown neighborhood. My name is Richard Stewart, and I would like to remind this board that last year you had discussed changing the name of the board to an honest name. You do not reflect the civil rights of everyone. Therefore, it is a dishonest name to call this board civil rights. It is an anti-racism board or an ordinance-specific board, it is insulting that you ignore that conversation you had last year on changing or correcting the name. I would also like to ask if you have required new board members to attend ableism training so that there is no more discrimination or bigotry against persons with disabilities on this board, intentional or not. I do not believe you have included disability equal to race and gender in the Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Department to this day. Today, you did not even do the necessary accommodations that were demonstrated in the training by Disability Network, where you would all state your name before speaking. In fact, we can't even read your lips wearing those masks. The public comments are off on YouTube. I just can give you a list of things that you're doing wrong. I would appreciate it if you would address the ableism training and include it as a requirement of new board members. Thank you. Things that you're doing wrong. I would appreciate it if you would address the ableism training and
there are no more citizen comments at this time.
Okay, thank you. All right. Miscellaneous comments by board members. Any comments, board?
Yeah, this is Director Brown. The comment that was just made, I know we've kicked around that a little bit, about changing the name. Did we come to a conclusion that we would or would not? I don't remember if we, I mean, just to be fair.
No, we did not,
Yeah.
because we had transition on the board, so that conversation had to stop. The
Okay.
reason why we are so vigilantly wanting to fill the vacant seats on the board is so that we can continue with that conversation, in addition to other business and efforts that we started. We kind of got the wheel going last year toward the end of the year, but we are not fully staffed right now. So no decisions or anything can be made without a full board for input on that. So it is my personal hope that we can move forward after we get new members of the board with that conversation, in addition to other trainings and education efforts that we were intending to do this year.
So this is Director Brown again. So just to clarify, the meeting, the conversation around the name change and some other things that were brought up are definitely on hold because of the exodus. So the exodus of members. So now, being that we really aren't a full board, we are waiting in clarification for that, for the board to be filled, and then for us to make those decisions pertaining to board name if we do decide to change it and other things like that. Is that what we're saying, that those things will be revisited then?
This is Director Harrington. Yes.
I just wanted that clarified because I know that that's come up a lot, and I just want to make sure that that's addressed and the public understands why that conversation was ceased and why we didn't continue with that conversation. So, thank you.
This is Director Harrington. Yes, I think it's really important. One of the things that the board was starting conversations about last year was just education in general, with who we are, what we do, what our mission is, was actually in Chapter 18 and Chapter 18A that basically gives us our marching orders. And I think it's our responsibility as a board to make sure that the community understands exactly who we are and what we do. So it is my hope that with those efforts that are done this year, that there will be a better understanding. Thank you. Any other comments? Okay. We will adjourn the meeting at, what time is it? 7:47. Thank you, everyone, for your time tonight.